I think my favorite thing about doing a talk show, Robin, is that we get to talk to musical people. It's a talk show where we talk to musical people. Ray Padgett is on the phone. He's written this book called Cover Me, and it held me at my desk for the longest time when it first arrived. The stories behind the greatest cover songs of all time. Ray is a journalist. He founded the blog Cover Me, which is the largest blog devoted to cover songs on the web. He's a contributor to Spin, MTV, Vice, Consequences of Sound, a senior music publicist for Surefire Media, and the book is a book you're going to love if you love music, and so many of the artists that you love are mentioned in this book. Ray, good morning. Thank you for being on the air with us today.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So, cover songs. I was the guy who always would look at the record labels and see who wrote the song, and then would go to the artist. I mean the writer. I would like, for example, I'll give you an example. "Leaving on a Jet Plane." I thought that was the beautiful song, right? I found that this guy named John Denver wrote it, and that Peter, Paul, and Mary were actually covering it. And so is that one of the greatest cover songs? I'm just hoping. I don't know.
It's definitely a great cover song. It's not one of the ones in the book, but Peter, Paul, and Mary have any number of songs. You know, I write about Bob Dylan covers in the book a lot, and Blowing in the Wind. You know, people might not know that song except for Peter, Paul, and Mary's cover of it.
Yeah, well, that's true for a lot of them, isn't it? And a lot of them, the songwriter. I don't know if Dylan is a good example of this, but. Like Rod McEwen, I think, was one who would write songs, and not a whole lot of people were buying. At least my generation. I'm 62, so I was like a young baby boomer, I guess. But I mean, you heard a lot of songs like "Turn, Turn, Turn," for example. Who was the guy who wrote "Turn, Turn, Turn"?
Oh gosh,
Pete Seeger.
Pete Seeger, thank you.
Thank you.
So I wouldn't have known Pete Seeger if it wasn't for the Byrds, I guess, right?
Yeah, there's any number of great covers like that. Leonard Cohen is another one where a song like Hallelujah is a hugely famous song, but no one knew his original version. It wasn't until Jeff Buckley covered it that it became as famous as it is now.
Isn't that something? That was such a beautiful song. I was one of the few people who actually knew that song already. So how did this become your thing? How did this become your passion?
Oh, it's been my passion for over 10 years now. It actually started, it's one of those rare light bulb moments in life. When I was in college about 11 years ago, I heard a cover of the Gershwin song Summertime, Summertime and the Living is Easy, which is one of the most covered songs of all time. I knew the song well, heard it a bunch. But this was by a soul singer named Billy Stewart, and if you haven't heard it, people should check it out. It's fast, it's got drum solos, horns.
Really?
And I'm listening to this with the same lyrics, and I'm saying, I didn't know you could do this. What other great covers are out there that change the song this much?
Oh, gosh, I can tell you one that I loved. This is from years ago. It was the Saturday morning cartoons, where all these bands covered the theme songs to Saturday morning cartoons. Do you remember that, by chance?
Mm-hmm.
That was great.
Yeah, I wrote about one of them in the 90s. Liz Phair covered one of the songs, and I wrote a thing for Chicago Magazine about the best Chicago covers of all time, and one of them is her covering one of those Saturday morning cartoon songs in the 1990s.
Cover Me is the name of the book. Yeah, give us some of the other songs that are covered in the book and the stories behind the cover versions.
Sure. Oh, there's so many. One of my favorites, though, is Devo covering Satisfaction, the Rolling Stones song. I interviewed the guys from Devo about it, and they told me this sort of amazing story about how their cover was so weird and so different that they had to get permission from Mick Jagger himself. So they have a meeting in a conference room with the two of them and Mick Jagger, and it's just awkward, it's tense, no one knows who these Devo guys are. They're just sitting there, then they take out a boombox, they press play. Mick Jagger just sits there staring daggers at him for 30 seconds, and then all of a sudden, he gets up without saying a word and starts dancing around the conference room.
Oh, so he was okay with it?
That was all the permission they needed.
Oh, that's awesome.
I was surprised by Elvis Presley with the song "I Will Always Love You." I didn't think he was that kind of a person.
He was all set to cover it and was going to, but at the time, his manager and he had sort of a scheme cooked up where they would get half the songwriting credits on any song he covered, even though he didn't write the songs. And so Dolly Parton, who did write that song, said, well, thanks but no thanks. I wrote the song. I'm not giving away half the credit.
Yeah, really?
And she had a funny... she had a funny quote when Whitney Houston made it a huge hit like a decade later. She said, I was really sad when Elvis wouldn't cover my song, but then when Whitney Houston covered it, I made enough money to buy Graceland.
Oh, I didn't know Elvis was doing that. Isn't that a sneaky thing to say he half wrote the song?
Totally sneaky.
Oh my God. Well,
He didn't write a word.
You see, I always had great respect for like the Carpenters or I think of even John Lennon. He did a whole cover album, didn't he? He did the songs that he was inspired by.
He did, yeah, like early rock and roll songs.
And to me, that's a great homage, especially if you're already an accomplished songwriter, to cover other people's work. I don't know. I love this world. I wish this was a longer interview.
It seems that you were really taken with Jimi Hendrix, though.
Yeah, Jimmy, that was the first one I ever wrote for the book. The first chapter was on Jimi Hendrix covering All Along the Watchtower, which is a perfect example of what you're saying of covering influences. Jimi Hendrix was a Bob Dylan super fan. He was, obsessed with the guy, and he buys this new Dylan record, the day it comes out, and I interviewed Jimmy's girlfriend at the time, and she said, she was going to cover a different song, but he couldn't figure out a way to do it, and then she actually suggested, hey, what about this song called All Along the Watchtower? Maybe you could do that one, and, the rest, they say, is history.
Oh gosh, I'm just loving this book. The book is called Cover Me. The cover is a record. Just seeing a record again is good. I know it's not a record, but it looks like a record.
And we learned about the title change on the song Midnight Train to Georgia. I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah, it was originally called Midnight Plane to Houston, but
Really?
Gladys Knight said, well, my people don't take planes, and we don't going to Houston, we're going to Georgia, so she changed the lyrics.
I didn't know
Nice.
that. Oh, that is interesting, isn't it? I have a copy of the book. This is one I would really rather keep, but I promise you I'll buy my own, and you can have this one. Call me if you want the copy that was sent to me. It's really it'd be a great gift for somebody who loves music. The rest of us have to go buy it. I did find it on Amazon. Looks like you're getting really good reviews, and it's very affordable. My gosh, only $16 for this hardcover, beautiful book.
Nice gift for the holidays.
Yeah, really. So let me give this one away real quick. Oh my gosh, I got a lot of people calling it. You take this one at random. Good morning. You got the book. Who's this?
This is Marty.
Marty, do you know where we are?
Yes, I do.
Okay, it'll be waiting for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ray, you've got a hit on your hands. Thank you for doing this. This is awesome.
Thanks so much. It's been fun to talk.
I think I might get the Kindle version. I see it's available as a Kindle.
Nice.
So I might do Kindle. Cover Me, again, is the name of the book. Before we say goodbye, do you have a website you want to recommend other than Amazon?
Amazon's fine. Your local bookstore's fine, or you can go to covermesongs.com, which is my website, and it's got links there and just a whole bunch of content about cover songs.
Okay, covermesongs.com. Ray Padgett, thank you for being on the show with us today. That was fun.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we will be right back. This is WOCA Ocala.
Second news brief, Senator Bill Nelson says the Department of the Interior will announce plans to drill off the Atlantic coast. A 52-year-old man has been arrested accused of molesting a 10-year-old girl and an 11-year-old boy in Dunellen. Florida's Constitutional Revision Commission will decide if a victims' rights amendment should be added to the November ballot. SpaceX has delayed the Falcon 9 rocket launch until Friday, and a federal judge has ruled that Brevard County commissioners cannot open their meetings with prayer. And that is your news brief from The Source.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. On this Wednesday, lots of sunshine and cooler than yesterday with a high between 60 and 65. And mainly clear and chilly winds tonight, low between 40 and 45. Thursday, partly sunny and warmer in the afternoon.